You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, unless you're a Pakistan fan, in which case, commiserations, I'm sorry, and I imagine you will... let's be honest, you're not going to be listening, are you? Got your head in an oven. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. How are you doing, Ross?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you, mate. Very good. Very, very excited to be able to talk about Pakistan's absolute crumble against England on the motorway of all motorways as well. We're 800. England's 800 in an innings. It's absolutely insane, and it could only have been happening against Pakistan.
And we've got Max. How are you doing, Max?
Hello. Yeah, very good. Thanks. Nice to watch England bat forever. I enjoyed that. It's made for a nice background to my working day.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be talking about England v Pakistan. England roared back from a 550 run first innings. It's not a deficit, is it? After conceding 550 runs in the first dig to beat Pakistan by an innings. The first time the team's ever scored 550 and lost by an innings. It's I don't know what to say, really. I don't know what to say. I mean, I should say something nice about Pakistan, but there's not really a lot of nice things to be said. There'll be lots of nice things about England, though, and I'm looking forward to getting into all of those. Before we do, though, just a shout out to Manscaped. Ross will give you the full copy later on, but manscaped.com is where you need to head. Use the code CricketPod for 20% off plus free shipping. In addition to that, why don't you tell all your friends in your cricket group chats? Say, number one, there's an awesome cricket podcast out there called The Cricket Podcast. Easy to remember. Number two, they can help you shave your pubes. Use the code CricketPod for 20% off plus free shipping. Max, can you summarise the carnage that was the first test in Multan, please?
I will do my level best, Jack. Level being the word used to describe the pitch that this game was played on. Because it was all a question before, wasn't it? What are we going to get? What are we going to get out of England's tour to Pakistan? Last time, it was a display of baseball at its finest and some interesting declarations, some Pakistan implosions and all the rest of it. But not long ago, Pakistan just got blown away by Bangladesh's pace attack with a bit of extra grass on the pitch, somewhere between 6 and 9 millimeters, apparently, according to some of the Pakistani media and players. So maybe there was hope. Maybe there was hope for something for the bowlers. And that hope was dashed after about 3 deliveries of the first innings when nothing happened. Nothing happened for ages. And it was Abdullah Shafiq and Shan Masood both scoring centuries, getting Pakistan into a very commanding position. They were 300 odd for 3 at one point, and it was looking pretty dicey for England. For all the effort they put in, they were extracting absolutely nothing. But they came back. They worked hard. They nicked a few wickets. There was some funky field positions, some questionable shots. And in the end, England made some inroads, only to be denied by Aga Salman, who also had a rearguard at 100 effort to eventually get Pakistan to 556. But I mean, given where things were, England would have probably been all right with 5. I mean, it's ridiculous to say. England probably weren't that disappointed by conceding 556 in the first innings. And that's a fact, and that's ridiculous. The other thing about it is, it's true. They said it.
They didn't walk up.
They meant it. They were happy with what they. What wasn't so good was Ollie Pope getting a 2-ball duck on the roadiest road that ever roaded.
Immediately goes to Surrey. Immediately. Classic.
But aside from that, it was quite good for England, and they ended day 2 1 wicket down with a decent score, and there was an air of inevitability that somehow Pakistan were going to implode, going to crumble, their mental fortitude would dissolve, and somehow they'd conspire to lose this game. I don't think there was an air of inevitability about the fact that it happened with England scoring 823 for 7 and Harry Brook scoring 317 and Joe Root scoring 262 and batting for what seemed like forever. But that's what happened. And Pakistan were baked in the hot, molten sun. And when they came out to bat with a deficit of 260 odd, their brains were well and truly fried. They played some of the worst cricket I've ever seen from a side in Test matches, and they crumbled to 82 for 6. There was a brief period of resistance at the start of day 5 between Ahmad Jamal and Agus Salman once again, but once Leach had removed the latter, he ran through the tail with poor old Abra Ahmed absent, not feeling very well, and
After
England
getting
won.
twatted for 170 odd runs in his first day's work.
Yeah, I'd retire.
Could have called him sick.
So and that was that. England won with an innings and some time to spare, and well, we all then sat there doing numbers and counting up things. We saw pictures of people's scorecards that ran off into 3 different sides of A4, A5, A3, and it was a bizarre game of cricket, I think.
Ross,
Can we start with some breaking news?
they fired the captain.
Pakistan have revamped their selection panel.
Oh no, I saw they revamped the. Ali Dar is now.
Ali Dar is on the selection panel.
How many people have they got on their selection panel? Here's a good game.
No.
Well, they actually only had one before they added Alim Dar and the others. So there's only one man left.
They've got 10 people on their selection panel.
No, hold on. See that
four with non-voting rights, 6 with voting rights.
Hold on. One they should do.
One player.
Have
each.
11. Have 11. Just pick one player each.
Yeah. Well, no, the captain's decided, isn't it? You've got the captain, so you only need 10.
There you go. And then the captain can pick the 12th man. Yeah, done. I think that's a good. Maybe they're on something here.
It's revolutionary.
Ross, they're definitely not on to anything on the cricket field, are they? There's 2 sides to everything. We'll do all the good England stuff in a bit, but how do you lose a cricket match where you get 556 batting first?
It was
how does that happen?
As well, like Shan Masood and Abdullah Shafiq, they were in fine touch. England were just like, oh no, kind of behind the 8 ball, really. And the fact that 3 of their players got centuries, they must have felt pretty damn good about themselves. There surely wasn't a bit of worry in that Pakistan team, but it is absolutely incredible. And yet, Max, you kind of said it. There was always an air of inevitability about it. When they came out to bat a second time, and Chris Wokes, the worst England bowler overseas of all time, cleans up Shafiq first ball, and they go from there, right? They were 40 for 4, and then 115 for 6, and it was all just a complete procession. On the pitch didn't do too much, did it? If we're perfectly honest, on the final bit, it wasn't behaving that badly. Right. There was a little bit of turn that was starting to appear, a very small amount of inconsistent bounce, but it was an absolute dream wicket that 1,300 runs had been scored on in the previous couple of days, whatever it was. It's an insane collapse, and the blame obviously has to go to their mental aptitude, their fitness, their families, everything. There's every single part of Pakistani Twitter I've read. Every single part of Pakistan Twitter has provided some absolutely brilliant insights on it. So not enough all hacks being picked was one of the bits in there.
Inzamam would have had a field day on this track.
So it's a disaster, and this is it 6 losses in a row now for Pakistan?
Yeah,
it's not great, is it? I think there were
That's
2
an
things.
understatement, Jack.
One of the things you said in there probably resonates. The fitness point. If you juxtapose Joe Root and Harry Brook batting forever. I mean, Root batted for over 10 hours in this test in 35 degrees plus. Someone counted up how far he ran for his and other people's runs. It was 8.5 kilometers. And that doesn't include the times you run, but the ball goes for 4. So it's probably some way over that. Pakistan, on the other hand, 8 out of 12 players in their squad failed the fitness test that they're supposed to take.
If you fail the fitness test, doesn't that mean you're not allowed to play?
Who else are they going to pick? They have a test you have to run 2 kilometers in 8 minutes, so it's a 4-minute kilometer. It's kind of fun.
It's the same one as Danny Van Niekerk failed. Is that one? It's very
I
similar
think it's
to that
similar
one,
to
isn't
that.
it?
It's similar to that.
Bit quicker than that.
It's not like one of them. 2/3 of their team can't run 2 kilometers in 8 minutes.
I think it's probably quite challenging for a bloke off the street. For an international sportsman, that shouldn't be a challenge.
I reckon I would be able to do it. I think I would be able to do that. Like, I do some running, and I roughly time myself.
Right now. Should we start the clock?
And not loads. I do a couple. I do a couple of runs a week, few intervals in there. I think 8 minutes for 2 kilometers, I'd be there or thereabouts. I think if someone said you have to run 8 kilometers to pass a test to play international cricket, I would be able to do it, or an 8-minute 2K. I'd be like, that's enough motivation for me to leg it out. Either they're not taking that seriously, or they are actually supremely unfit. And the way they batted in the second innings, they look like tired men who were exhausted. And maybe they are unfit. Maybe they are unfit. And then I wanted to highlight the dismissal of Saeem Ayub as well.
Oh God!
Arguably the game is gone at that point. But if there's a shot that sums up that whole test, I think that was it. England didn't even have to try to get him out. The ball's a yard wide of off stump. It's about waist high.
It's quite a bad ball.
It's a really bad ball.
Shit balls get wickets, lads. Come on.
And it's a half tracker. He scooped it straight up in the air. It's a good catch by Duckett, but it's a lazy shot. It's an ill thought out shot. It's a shot from somebody who doesn't have a plan and has probably given up. And I think you could extend most of those pieces of criticism, I think, to every single Pakistan player in that test. They were abysmal. They were so unbelievably bad. Max, on the preview, I thought it would be 1-1, I think, this series. Unless something massive happens, a big shift in how this team operate, they'd be lucky not to lose 3-0.
Yeah.
When they lost to Bangladesh, I assumed it was a fluke. Then I watched this and I was like, "Fucking hell, this team are awful." Two jet seamers bowling 80 miles an hour. Yeah. Like, they've got a leg spinner who he's in the hospital now. I hope he gets better, but.
Oh mate, come on! That I reckon I'm going to call bullshit on that. I reckon he's not. I reckon there's an element where he's putting that on a little bit, if I'm perfectly honest.
For the sake of
back.
We got 0 for 174. He bowled.
This is right. It's not. Whether he's in the hospital or not in the next test, it's not going to matter. The guy shouldn't be anywhere near the team. They didn't have a single bowler who looked like they take a wicket. I would say this. If you're going to say one nice thing about Pakistan, I think, contrary to what Max said, I think 556 is a good score, even on a road. I think
it is a good score. I was saying from 300 odd for 3 or 2 or whatever it was, England are probably quite happy that it was only 556.
Okay. Maybe you can sort of
324
do some mental gymnastics and come up with that. Maybe that is fair. But 500, from 556, that is job done in the first inning.
Yeah,
even if you were 300 for 3 at one point,
usually
that's job done.
Only 2
results, but they were nowhere near taking a wicket. It's such a bad
I would
team.
like to defend Amir Jamal, because I thought he acquitted himself all right. I think with the bat, he was decent.
Got his figures, Ross?
He gave an effort. He bowled 24 overs, 1 for 126. Fine, but that's
5.25 and over, Max. That's
but
quite the limit.
until the bit where it was complete disaster. When Joe Root and Harry Brook had a bit of a sleep and come back refreshed the next day and started really rubbing their noses into the dirt. I thought he actually bowled quite nicely. He managed to get a little bit out of the out the pitch, a little bit of angle. He was quite unlucky not to have another wicket. I think there was an umpire's call that went against him that he could have had. I think the same happened for Naseem. I thought actually of the Pakistan bowlers, he was probably the one that comes out with a tiny bit of credit. Maybe Naseem with the second new ball did okay as well. I'm trying to find positives.
There aren't any positives. They were rubbish.
They bat really slowly. They bowl really badly. They fielded terribly as well. Literally some of the drops were embarrassing. It was absolutely hopeless cricket.
I mean, it's Pakistan. You never know with them.
Yeah. To be fair, they flicked the coin first inning, 556. Good day, and then just shit.
Stop the count. Stop the count.
We've done our job.
They might. Maybe they will bounce back, but 823. That's bad. I think we should take a quick break. We've done some Pakistan stuff, and then we should probably come back and do Joe Root and Harry Brook, because that's the other side of this story. What was it? 454 run partnership.
Correct.
That's a lot of runs. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a few seconds to talk about that.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast. Ross, do you have the Manscaped copy?
I do. But I've got to get it on my phone, and then we've got to hope that it doesn't interfere with the mic. But we can say that this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Max, you're looking a bit shaggy these days.
It's a conscious choice, Ross.
Oh, I'm not going to go down the Ed Sheeran comparison route. We know you don't like that in the YouTube comments, so let's make sure that doesn't happen right now. Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation. It's the Chairman Pro, guys. It's an electric foil shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro is for you. You can join over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using the code, what is it, Max?
Cricket Pod.
For 20% off plus free shipping. And Jack, what do you get for using the code Cricket Pod?
You get 20% off plus free shipping.
Beautiful. There we go. Manscaped. Go and get yourself shaved.
Good. Yeah. Shave.
Shave
loads of
yourself,
stuff, isn't there? Get the
There is.
lawnmower, the dome shaver.
Yeah, the
Dome
old
shaver, I think, is
ball
the best
deodorant.
name. Ball deodorant. Dome. All the name. I mean, like Manscaped's a great name, but dome shaver. Like everyone knows. Everyone knows a man with a dome.
The weed whacker's quite a good name. That's the
Weed whacker
nose
is
and ear
good,
hair trimmer. The weed whacker. Yeah.
Good brand. Manscaped. 20% off with the code Cricket Pod plus free shipping. Max, can we have some records?
You
Then we'll
can,
do-
Jack. You can have some records.
So
here-
Max had like a big grand book for this, like he's going through.
Let me rummage around for my tome of records.
Yeah, you would suit
Batsman
that.
Max.
Ink inscribed quill.
I've never met somebody who worked for like the Guinness World Records company, but if I did, Max, I would assume they would be quite similar to you. So I think that'd be quite a nice. I think that'd be quite a nice job for you actually working. with Guinness.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it as a change. When I'm looking for a change of career, I'll see what Guinness has got for me. If you get free Guinness with it, then I'm in. Right. So the records tumbled. The records tumbled in this game, as we know. You've mentioned a couple already. Number one off the bat. No team had ever scored more than 500 in tests and lost by an innings. It actually has happened before in first-class cricket. I think it was Leicestershire. But Pakistan, first international team ever to do that. Well done. It was the fewest maidens in an innings of 150 overs or more. It was the fourth highest test score ever. It was England's third highest test score ever. And it wasn't even in the top 1,000 longest in balls bowled. It's the first time England have reached 700 for the loss of 3 wickets or fewer. Sri Lanka have done it 4 times. It's quite impressive. It's the highest first innings aggregate score in a test match with the result, and the third highest ever. 1,379 runs scored by both teams in the first innings. That's the match ones. Right. partnership. England's highest partnership in tests, the fourth highest ever. It was the highest fourth wicket stand ever. It was the highest fourth wicket stand against Pakistan. Well, highest partnership against Pakistan. It's the second 300 plus partnership between Joe Root and Harry Brook, and the first England pair to have two 200-run partnerships together, and the ninth pair ever. It's the second time England have had two double centurions in the same innings, and only the third time that two batters have scored 250 or more in the same innings, and the first time that's happened for England. Brook, he became England's sixth triple centurion and scored the second fastest 300 in history behind Virinder Sehwag, who did it in 278 balls against South Africa in 2008, which is
That's a good innings, isn't it?
impressive. It's
Virinder Sehwag. He is, mate, absolutely brilliant.
It was the high 317. Brook scored the highest score by an Englishman in Asia. Joe Root. The first record to fall was Joe Root passing Alistair Cook as England's leading all-time Test run scorer. He's now got 12,664, which is just 3,257 behind the little master, Sachin Tendulkar, which means if he plays another 13 innings at Multan, he's guaranteed to surpass him. That's maths. Joe Root also became the first Englishman to score over 20,000 international runs, and he's the only player outside of Asia to score 3 double tons in Asia. So that's quite a record. We're nearly done. A couple more. Under Baz McCullum, England have won all 3 times they've conceded 500 in an innings. So just runs against England. Just
maybe is that going to be the tactic when we go to Australia? Concede 500.
Usually something that we do in the first game in Western Australia. So it's a good possibility. It's the second time in Test history that 6 bowlers have conceded over 100 runs in an innings. 2.87. What number do you think that is? That is the partnership average of Abdullah Shafiq and Simon Ayub in Test cricket, which is the lowest ever, funnily enough, between
the openers,
who've played at least 8 innings together. It's 17 innings in a row for Babar Azam without scoring 50. His highest score in that period is 41. And according to CricViz, it was the 5th flattest pitch since records began. And that's all we've got time for on the Cricket Podcast. Thank you very much for listening.
Out of all of those things, I can't believe there was one maiden bowled in that 150 overs.
One maiden.
Yeah, that's an onslaught. Just an onslaught. Ross, Brook and Root. Pretty good.
Yeah. Well, you've got England's best ever player in Joe Root, and then you've got Harry Brook, who is a generational talent who has started young enough that he's probably not going to surpass Root, but it will do pretty well for England across the next kind of 15 years or so that his career spans. And it was a mixture, really. You saw the influences that Harry Brook had. Like, he had the swagger of Kevin Peterson, yet the kind of patience and grit and ability to play spin of Joe Root. And those kind of growing up in that era is pretty spectacular to watch. And then Joe Root just was Joe Root. We've talked about him before, about being the only adult in the room sometimes. And there was a period of time where he was the only person who scored a run really for England. And we had to rely on Daddy Root to sort us out. And this was a big daddy ton from him. He just never even looked like getting out. And the most hilarious thing, when he was out, he was bitterly disappointed that he wasn't going to get 300. Like, he kind of, and it was amazing. Just that guy's appetite for runs is just cannot be satisfied.
It was good from Root. Root upped his average by nearly a run in that inning, which is not bad going when he played 147 tests. It's now 51.47. Max,
I was going to say, before we go, before I give up the mic to Max, Joe Root on Twitter was getting a bit of stick from some of the India fans because there was comparisons that he was going to overtake Sachin Tendulkar, and that Joe Root was just a bit of a home bully. Max, what do you reckon his averages is in South Africa?
Well,
greater or higher than 50? We'll start with that.
I'm going to say higher.
Yep, it's higher. What about in New Zealand? Is it higher than 50?
Well, that's probably higher.
Yeah, it's higher. Sri Lanka?
Higher?
Yep, higher. Yep, 65 in Sri Lanka, if you want to know. 50 in South Africa, 52 in New Zealand. UAE.
10.
Oh, that was that. No, it was that like Pakistan series, wasn't it? So it's gonna be like 90.
Yeah, it's 57.
Oh.
West Indies 51. Pakistan 69. His averages.
Oi.
India 45.
Oh,
Australia.
rubbish.
Australia's 35. So let's quickly go over that one. But a man who hits runs all around the globe and is pretty spectacular when it comes to batting on absolute flat ones.
Only 24 against Bangladesh, though.
Yeah, well,
Chink in the armour.
Yeah.
Well, we need to write that one, don't we? That's one for
To be fair,
before the end.
to be honest, if that wasn't on the list that I saw, so got that one past me.
Max and I, I think we went through that last time we did Sachin Watch with Joe Root. And
there's a lot more watching to come in the next few years, I gather.
How many test matches will he need now?
Well, I mean, if you, assuming he continues at his average, then it'll be 33 ish.
33 tests.
Yeah.
Okay.
If he scores 100, if he scores 100 in each one, that'll get him there.
Still
As
quite a lot.
over both innings. It's quite a lot. Yeah.
Still quite a lot of tests. No, I think it's
4 or 5 years.
Game on. There's a couple more tests coming up in this series against Pakistan. So not 500 off.
It's in the back then.
Harry Brook now, he averages 62.5 against Pakistan. Double that, 130 on the nose.
He scored more runs in Pakistan in 6 innings than he has in 21 innings.
21, yeah.
Wow. Had more centuries in Pakistan than Imran Khan. There's probably not that
try
many
his hand at running the country.
Well, yeah, maybe that's the solution. I know there's political turmoil happening in Pakistan. Maybe bring Harry Brook in. I don't know.
I mean, they've been grooming him for the white.
I can't imagine he'd be
the
a
next
great
logical step, isn't it?
But I can't imagine he'd be a great statesman. But then, was Imran Khan? Who knows? The mad thing about it was how flipping fast it was. I think, wasn't it? I mean, a runnable 300. I mean, you talked about the Sehwag one earlier. That's that was something else in its own right. But a runnable 300 when you've got a deficit of 560 to flip the game on its head. Like there were points that when he was batting yesterday afternoon time in the run up to him being out, where it was just men against boys. Like it was total one-way traffic. Yeah. There was no
Joe Root batted left-handed for a little while. He just decided I'm going to bat left-handed.
I think it was only a ball. I think it was only a ball, but yeah, it was. It was bad. I don't really have much more to say on it. I don't know how to process it. It's such a bonkers thing to have happened.
It's just the stamina that impresses me. Like when you compare it to the Pakistan team, and you look at how hot it was, being out there in all that gear for that amount of time, and the number of singles and doubles and threes that they ran, to be able to keep going, like you say, that long and keep the pace up to get to 300 in that short amount of time, it is genuinely impressive, like physical feat.
There's also something wrong with them mentally, though. Like that's like almost like a sociopathic level of hounding someone.
To continue batting, to not get
like just imagine sitting there and be like, I'm going to absolutely destroy that level of competitiveness. It's like a Michael Jordan level of just like we are going to absolutely obliterate these people. They clearly weren't good enough, and they were just like, you know what? I'm going to absolutely fill my boots here. That is a level of like a psychopath behaviour. And it was brilliant that it was happening for England for once.
823 runs. I mean, I think that so people who aren't England fans probably think we're going overboard a little bit, and there'll be people saying, "Oh, it's a flat pitch. Can only do it on a road." And it's like, obviously, you can only score 823 on a road. The fact is that Pakistan have batted for a day and 2/3.
Over less Pakistan batted for.
Yeah. They'd got 556. It should have been impossible for a team to have won this, let alone won it with 2 sessions to spare.
One innings.
That's the thing.
One innings. They cantered home.
That's
It's
the
an
thing that
absolute
annoys me the
battery.
most, Jack. The fact they had 2 sessions to spare. 1,000 was on.
Yeah.
They could have got both. Imagine that.
This. I mean, Brook could have got 400. I mean,
Brook could have got.
there's
Could have had Brook scoring
no
402.
shadow of a doubt.
England could have scored 1,000, and they could still have won this game.
So what is also pretty impressive is that this wasn't kind of like Brian Lara cricket, right? If you look at Joe Root's innings, he only hit 17 boundaries, kind of in that space, right? Joe Root ran and ran around. He only hit 17 fours, didn't hit 1 6, hit 7. That is absolutely and just being able to have that mental fortitude to go and just bat and bat and bat is incredible.
What do you reckon Joe Root runs 2K in?
I reckon around 8. I reckon it's going to be like 7.5. I reckon something like that. He's not going to.
That's quite a lot less than 8.
Yeah, it's quite a lot less than 8, isn't it? Yeah.
That's,
7. I reckon 750. I reckon he's a 750. They're still
It's like
fast,
saying
but
I'm only 5 seconds slower than Usain Bolt over 100
Yeah, well,
meters.
I realised how stupid it was when I said it.
Yeah,
I reckon
I
he's pushing low 750s. That's what he's going. Low 750s.
I know Stokes did it in 6 minutes 58.
That is pretty
That's
impressive.
That is mad. And Stokes apparently can, or this was before the 2019 Ashes, so that probably peak fitness Stokes. But apparently he could dumbbell bench press 42 kilos in each arm as well. Like the Venn diagram of people who can run 2K in under 7 minutes and do that on a bench press is like probably just
Olympic decathletes.
Yes. So one guy. Yeah, I mean,
Three years ago, we literally had bloody Dom Sibley, who was known as the Fridge. We had Ollie Robinson turning up.
Dom Sibley's lost a lot of weight, you know. He's tried very hard on his fitness.
Influenced
Very, very
by
cheap.
Ben Stokes, Joe Root, those guys, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like the fitness regime of these guys and getting to that position. Yeah, pretty incredible.
I mean, probably. I mean, yeah. We're saying all this. I mean, obviously, Joe Root and Brook are better than anything Pakistan have got out there. But Pakistan got 3 guys to 100 in the first innings, 1 guy to 80. When you're in on that pitch, you're kind of in. It's not like England have got their bowling attack's sort of fine, but Wokes, Atkinson, Cass, Shoaib Bashir, Jack Leach, and Joe Root with some auxiliary overs. I don't think that's it's not miles better than what Pakistan rolled out. It's still not a great bowling attack. You'd think if one of them maybe was just a little bit fitter, so they could have buried England. But I don't know. Right.
Well, was it also? I mean, it was great to see Zach Crawley back in an England shirt after kind of missing the series in the summer, and he just took Shaheen Afridi apart. Shaheen Afridi is the one that people were kind of scared of, and he just looked military medium, didn't he? Really, like he got flayed all over the place. Ben Duckett had a dislocated thumb. They popped it back in, and he still hit 84. It's just the complete no pressure environment they seem to work in, and just like, yeah, fuck it, this will be pretty good. See you later. It's amazing.
Yeah. Anyone on the bowling side, Max, that you'd like to highlight before we wrap up?
I think Jack Leach did. I mean, obviously Jack Leach was the guy who finished it off in the end, but he bowled well in that first innings where things were a bit tricky. He didn't have a lot to work with to start, but he, when Shoaib Bashir, they went after quite early on. I mean, Pakistan, they dried up really. It's the bowling figures are a bit curious because they've all ended up looking half decent in the end. Everyone's gone for 4 and over or less, but up to the point where they're on 350, 400, a few of them were getting some treatment. So it's sort of a little bit of a kind of pulls the wool over your eyes slightly. But I think during that period where things were looking a bit tough, I think Jack Leach bowled well, and it was nice to see him back. He got through 40 overs and did it well. So 3 for 160 doesn't look that exciting in that first innings, but it was good hard work, and I'm pleased to see him back and firing and looking fit for England. It's a good thing, and it's going to be very important for the rest of this series if it's anything like this pitch.
Got 7 for 190 for the match. Not bad.
Yeah.
All things considered. Bryden Cast on debut as well. He took 4 across the 2 innings, Ross. 4 for, I don't know, what, 120 odd.
Got
What
off
do you
the mark
think
in
of
Test cricket. Got off the mark in Test cricket with a
Cast?
6 as well. That's a nice little stat for himself, isn't it?
It is,
I think he's. Yeah, I think. He obviously had a. Was it gambling that he was banned for? Is that what he was done
Yeah.
for?
Yeah.
So it's good that there's a bit of rehabilitation going on in the England team and kind of getting people out there. And I think he can bat a little bit, Cass, and he kind of had the enforcer role. He was bowling plenty of bouncers, kept his pace up, and again, like the fitness element to that, to keep on doing that in that heat is pretty impressive.
He had a tough gig, didn't he, in that first innings?
Yeah, it's like, welcome to Test cricket, mate. Here's 150 overs you're going to stand in the field for, and then you're going to make you bowl into the dirt. It was, an admirable debut, if I'm perfectly honest. And I thought that Atkinson, after the summer, I think it did a good job. And fair play to Chris Wokes. There's an awful lot of Jimmy Anderson's gone, Stuart Broad's gone. Wokes can't bowl abroad, and then he's bowled reasonably well here and really set the tone in the second innings. Overall, what is a inexperienced bowling lineup put together a pretty decent showing.
They
And I think
themselves well.
Yeah, and one thing, like England dropped a couple of catches, didn't they, as well, in that period? But I think, Ollie Pope's captaincy, Max, not too bad either. There were some decent fielding plans, and it kind of came off.
Yeah, although there's one big black mark against Ollie Pope's captaincy, which is that he's now lost four tosses in a row. Needs to work on that slightly.
And he's not got any reviews correct, has he yet?
No.
Has he got any wrong? So I've got a thing to say on this. Has he got any wrong? Like
no idea.
Where
No
he
idea.
should have reviewed it and didn't? Because if you
they
get
never collect that info, do they?
Because a review that you get incorrect, I mean, it is in my opinion, sort of irrelevant.
Yeah, different types of error, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them you're like the end of the thing where you're just like, oh, we're just going to try this because of why not kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the one he tried in that first innings was literally like, it's 300 for 3. Why the fuck not? We haven't used one yet.
I think that's a fair point. We also haven't covered, Max, your beloved Ben Folkes. We would have been sitting there going, who was he? Jamie Smith, I thought, was brilliant behind the stumps. I think he did a really good job in the heat.
There was one clanger, wasn't there? One clanger of a missed stumping. But aside, being out there in the heat for 149 overs, not even close to something that he would have experienced before. Did well. Good to see.
Cool. Anything else? I saw Shah Massoud blamed the bowlers, which probably is fair enough. Actually, I know that the second innings was an absolute disaster, but he was like, you need to take some wickets, boys." he was sort of saying, I do kind of agree with that. Like, it's you can't let a team score 700 for 3.
I mean, there is a little bit around how he rotated some of those bowlers. Shan Massoud as captain. I mean, it was kind of give everybody a go, but Ayub, Jesus, got 14 overs for 101. Got a couple of wickets, sure.
Got 2 wickets.
Yeah, bought some
Harry Brook
bowling.
No.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Overall, they get to play at Multan again, don't they?
Yes,
they do. Yeah.
And the England camp have said they're going to. Oh, we're expecting Pakistan to produce some results wickets. I'm just like, I don't reckon they will. I reckon
they already have.
I reckon there's going to be another flat track completely. They can't do it.
Are they able to make anything other than that in Multan? I'm not convinced.
Don't know. Who knows? Right, I think that's probably enough cricket podcast. It was what it was. It was good, I think. Certainly 800
breaking.
Record breaking. That's definitely what it was. Yeah. I think it was good. I did enjoy this test match. I quite liked how ridiculous it was.
I mean, it's created some good narratives, and the outcomes have been crazy. But as a spectacle, it lacked at times. But
I think it's been a good few weeks for Test cricket. I think didn't India come back from 50 for 6 before lunch in one game to win, and then they won a match in a day and a half.
Yeah,
and then England have done this. Like, there's some some interesting stuff happening in Test cricket. We're going to wrap up here. There's the Women's World Cup's obviously on at the same time. I don't want to say nothing has changed since we talked about it on the last show, Max, but the situation is kind of the same. New Zealand need to slip up to let India through. England have won a couple of matches and they look like they're going to canter through, and probably South Africa will join them because they beat the West Indies. We'll talk about that in more detail on our next episode. But for now, goodbye, everyone.